Hi, it's Eugene here, one of your junior coaches, and I'm filming this video in order to kind of review and recap on the first contest programming problem. I know that some of you guys had a hard time solving the programming part of the contest, and this video is basically for preparing you for the second contest while also reviewing on the first one and kind of thinking about how we can apply the things we learned, how we can apply the list in order to solve these kind of programming questions. And as long as you know list, for, and if statements, it will be quite easy to solve most of the questions that ACSL offers. So um, by reviewing this question, I can maybe give you some insights on how we can apply the concepts that we learned into these programming questions. Okay, so let's read the questions first. So it is a two-player game, and each each point is calculated as aqua and red ring is 1 point, orange and green ring is 3 point, and black ring is 6 points. And aqua and red rings are denoted as the A and R. Orange and green rings are denoted as O and G, and black ring is denoted as B. Okay, and it says that because it's a two-player game, there will be two strings and each string will represent the results for all the tosses. And we have to calculate the points that each person is scoring, and we have to output the higher score first. And if the two players have the same score, it doesn't matter. All right, so this is the example input. As you can see, it's made so that there are two strings, and each string contains a set of letters that each indicate what score the person earned. So if you see the first string here, I'll say that this is the player one. The person scored one blue, one red, one aqua, and one green. Is it aqua? Oh, one black, one red, one aqua, and one green. And you can see that the black one is awarded 6 points, red one is 1 point, aqua is 1 point, green is 3. So in total, the person earned 11 points. Yep. So we just need to calculate that it's 11 points. And for the second string, we follow the same process, and we learned that the second player earned 15 points. When we compare 11 and 15, we learned that 15 is larger than 11, so we print 15 first and then we print 11 and separate these two numbers by a space. Okay, so how do we solve this question? In order to do that, we would need to first think about how we can separate this long string into each letter. And we learned how to do that by learning about list, right? Um, okay. And I didn't do any kind of, I guess, trial and error in filming the video because I wanted to do it like raw with you guys. Okay. So when you have a set list or like set string and you want to divide this string in so it's such that the list includes separate letters like this, and we need to do this process so that we make it into a list and then we enumerate through each letter in this list and see what point it corresponds to. Okay, so how would we turn this string into this list that we can enumerate through? Because if we just make it into this list, we can go through each element in the list and see that, okay, it's B, this is 6 points, this is R, this is 1 point, A, this is 1 point, G, this is 3 points. Now we learned how to make this long string into this list in our lessons, and we can do that by just simply turning it into, okay, so we have an input, right? And we can just turn it into a list by, I'll just call it array, and I can just do it as list input. And this will just simply turn this long string into this list that we can enumerate through. Let's try testing it, okay? All right. In this Python environment, I'll say that array is equal to list of the input, and I'll try printing the array. Okay, when I enter, what was it? Brag, B-R-A-G, then it makes it so that this long string is now turned into this long list with each element being the letter within that string. Okay, so we can just do that process 2 times, right? Array 1 and array 2, each denoting the tosses that each player made, the player 1 and player 2 made. So if we do this process and try printing each array, so first player earned brag and the second one earned, was it B-O-B? We can see that now the string is separated into the lists. Okay, now we have the 2 lists, and each element in the list represents the toss that person made. So how do we now calculate the total amount of points that each player earned? Because we have 2 arrays, let's not focus on 2, but now first focus on one of the arrays. We want to calculate how much scores player 1 earned by tossing BRAG. We can do that by going through the list and seeing what each letter is equivalent to. Okay, so we learned how to kind of go through the array or enumerate through the array. And the one way we can do that, as I explained in the guidebook, and you can reference the guidebook as always, we can do that by for I in array 1. And this would mean that the I would go through each element in array 1, and I would be equal to the element in the array 1. Okay, so when we run this for loop, I will go through B and R and A and G. Okay, then when it goes through that list, we just need to simply see what that letter is equivalent to. Okay, so we can say that if I is equal to A or R, each denoting 1 point, so we can just say if I is equal to A or R, we can do a statement that adds the total points. Or if I is equal to orange or green, we can do what's a set of operation that adds points. And if I is equal to B, then it's gonna add certain points. Okay, so we made this code so that it goes through all the elements in that list and sees what that letter is equivalent to. Now we just need to make it so that we give a variable for the points that player 1 earned and just simply add the correct value. So if I or that letter in that list is equal to aqua or red, we add 1 point. If it's orange or green, we add, what's it? 3 points. And if it's equal to black, we add 6 points. So it's always important to check numerous times while you code, instead of just making the whole code and then testing if it works, just to make sure that there isn't any flaw in your code. So I'll just try to run this and see if it works perfectly. BRAG and BOB. Okay, so it correctly outputs 11, which is the point that player 1 earned, because it goes through BRAG. So it goes through B. Okay, B is equal to adding 6 points. R is equal to adding 1 point. A, 1 point. G, 3 point. And then it adds all those values in point 1 and then prints out the final value, which is 11. So now it's pretty straightforward from here, right? We can just do the same process for the player 2. We just need to simply change the values of the variables, and then we can just do the same thing right here, and then let's see if it works. Oh, Sorry, so I accidentally added to the wrong variable, right? Just fix that and let's try again. Yep, so it now correctly outputs the points for player 1 and 2. Now, what we need to do is print out whichever is higher than the other. We have 2 points, points from player 1, points from player 2. We print out whichever is the higher first. How do we do that? We just need to simply compare which one is larger and then print the larger one. There are, I guess, 2 ways to do this, but I'll explain a more traditional way first. We can use if statements in order to compare which variable is larger. And if point 1, the point that player 1 earned is larger than the point that player 2 earned, we print out player 1's value and then player 2's value. If not, then we can simply print out point 2 and then point 1. And that would work fine for the case where the 2 points are equal also, because if it's like 11 and 11, the points are same, it doesn't matter which one you print out first. But if point 1 is larger, it's going to print out point 1 in first, and then if point 2 is larger than point 2, then it's going to print out point 2 first. So that's the traditional way to do it. It's perfectly fine, but I'll just share another approach to print out just in case you're wondering what would be the alternative way. The alternative way would be to use the max and min function, even though we didn't learn what that is. Let's try to, I will just make that code null and see how max and min function work. If we try to print, so within the max function, I put 1 and 2. So if I do that and run the code, it prints out 2, because this function basically calculates which one is the maximum, which one is larger among the 2 values within its function. It compares 1 and 2, and because 2 is higher than 1, it prints out 2. And then the print function prints whatever the max function gave it to it, which is 2. And I'll just introduce one more function, which is min function. Now, of course, this is the minimum function, and it prints out whichever one is the lower value. See? So the max function returns the higher value, min function returns the lower value. We can use the max and min function in order to solve this problem. So we can just print out the larger one out of the 2 point values, and then the lower one out of the 2 point values. And that also works perfectly fine, right? Let's try testing it out. We have brag and bob. See? We have the 2 values calculated, or we first have the strings turned into the list. We calculate the points for each list, and then we print whichever one is higher. This one uses the if-else approach, the traditional one. And this one uses the max and min function in order to print everything out in one line. This approach or the second approach, whichever one is fine. Coding is all about using the strategy that you think will work perfectly fine, and this is just the level of preference, whichever one you think you like better. So at the end, I'll just get rid of all the codes that I just used for testing, and I'll just use the second approach for my final one. And here I have completed making the code that solves this question. After I'm done making the code, I'll also try to put other test cases within this code just to make sure that it works perfectly fine, and then submit it. Now, when you're solving ACSL questions, after you make this code, you should always go through the step of trying out different test cases that the question offers, and if you think it's not enough, try making your own test cases. if you have remaining time, you should always do that. And when you're completely sure that this code will work fine for all kind of test cases, then you finally submit it to the ACSL contest page. So this question is actually quite easy, right? You can see that it's not many lines of code, and as long as you know how a list works and how you enumerate through the code and use if statements in the appropriate places, then it will be very easy to um, solve the code. And although you might think that it's hard at first glance, you'll get used to it as you go through the contest. And remember, it's only your second contest now. And I will assume that the second contest programming question is at the similar difficulty as this one. So as long as you know how list works, how for loop, if statements work, you will do okay. And even if you like completely fail, that's always okay because it's only your second contest. You have two more contests remaining, and offer you various lectures that can improve your coding skill after the second one too. So don't fret, just try your best and see how it turns out. And always, um, you can reference back to this video anytime you want. You can reference back to the guidebook that I created, the Jupyter notebook file that Oliver made, and you can always reach out to us asking, "Oh, Eugene or Oliver or Justin, I don't get this part. How does this work?" And as coaches, we're always pleased to help you out. So contact us anytime, and good luck on your second contest.